All right, this is lesson 18 of Python for data analysis. This is our third to last lesson. So we have two more next week. Those will be both on Monday. So we will start at 9:30 like we did a couple weeks ago. And we'll go from 9:30 to the regular end time at 12:20. And one other I sent some announcements last night. One thing I wanted to go over is the final project. So if we go to the GitHub page and the assignments, all the assignments are updated now. So if you want to work ahead to assignment 9 or the final project, you can do that. Regarding the final project, I just wanted to go over this together, and if you have questions, you can ask. So for the final project, this is worth a little bit more than your normal assignments. So the normal assignments have been 8 points each. This is worth 20. And what I want you to do is choose a data set of your own, or if you don't have one that you want to work with, you can find one in the text that we're using or online, and to carry out revealing data analysis. Alternatively, you can create a software tool if that's more what you're into. Maybe it's something a little more ambitious, can be an option too. So it's pretty flexible, but I want you to kind of take what you've learned and apply it to a situation that's going to be relevant to you and your research. And so I want you to gain some statistical and visualization insight into your data, or if you're creating a software tool, that might the kind of ambition or the idea that you might want to pursue would be more toward making it a useful tool. Question?
Any luck or information on getting the scikit-bio to work?
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to look into why the scikit-bio was not installing on this. I'm guessing it has something to do with the version of Python and Pandas, or some combination of packages that we're using. I can follow up on that. I can talk to some of the developers and see if they've seen any issues. And then also, you might try to install it to create a new environment and say Python equals like 3.6 or 3.5. Just kind of go down and see if it will then install. Mm-hmm. So when you submit this, I'd like you to it says down here, but to zip or gzip your files into a single file and then turn that in, and then I can unpack that, and that should have all the, unless it's a big data set, let me know and we can figure out a way to transfer that. But if you're working with a huge data set, you might consider just taking a subset of it and providing that to me, or some intermediate processing step, or we can talk about that. And then I can then unpack that and run it on my computer and see how it works. So, question?
How many points is the final?
20. Yeah. So it's 1/5 of your total. Mm-hmm. And then so you can either submit. It can be a Jupyter notebook or several notebooks. It could be a Python script or several scripts or some combination of these. Could have a bash script that kind of wraps it all together or something like that. So you can, whatever you need to do based on what you're able, go for it. And then I just sort of, to make sure that we're all like meeting some minimum criteria, I'd like you to use pandas. I'm sure you'll want to use pandas. And then one or more packages from at least 3 of these categories. So plotting, interactive visualization, statistics and modeling, and then maybe a domain-specific category like bioinformatics, climate science, or some other domain. So this would be like if you used Matplotlib, then great, you've used a plotting package, and then you could use say scikit-learn would be statistics, and then BioPython would be bioinformatics, for example, or some combination of those. And I want to point out, so today we're going to talk about Bokeh, but there's a number of other interactive visualization packages that you might want to check out that you might find interesting. So I've listed some here. I've also listed a few climate science packages that we won't talk about in the class. And BioPython's one we haven't talked about. And stats models we haven't touched on very much. So the other thing is I'd like you to use at least 3 of your own functions. So remember, a function is where you have that def, and then the name of the function, and then that's so forth. So this would be a way to avoid rewriting code when you're doing something multiple times. You can put it into a function. And if you want, you can even use something like there's a package called Click, which is a command line interface that allows you to take your code and make a command line interface for it. That's really cool. So that's called Click, and that would be a nice way that wraps your code into a set of functions. And then finally, if you want to use your own modules and classes, which we'll talk about next week, or if you want to share your code on GitHub, which we'll also talk about next week, you're welcome to do that. That's not required, but these would be nice things to learn how to do and to integrate into your code. And then again, I went through how the submission should work. So that will be due at the end of finals week. So it'll be due on noon on next Friday, or sorry, 2 weeks from Friday, which I believe is the 14th. Any other questions about the final project? Okay.